It was a standard of the so-called yellow journalism dating back as far as the 1890s, even earlier. Make up a story, print it in a gossip column or as a rumor. Then when somebody denies it or someone else reacts to it, suddenly it's a news story. The reaction, the denial. You can put that reaction or the denial in the newspaper. And if you really want to play the game, you can then criticize the other newspapers for not covering the story, which in turn forces many of them to cover it. Our third story in the countdown, a second front of the White House attempt to rescue journalism from the hostage situation at Fox and the ghost of William Randolph Hearst. An unnamed White House source telling Politico, quote, "We're doing what we think is important to make sure news is covered as fairly as possible," offering the Acorn story as an example. Fox News covered it, quote, "breathlessly for weeks on end." And then you had a couple of days of breastfeeding from the Washington Post and the New York Times about whether or not they were fast enough on the Acorn story. And it's like, wait a second, guys, let's make sure that we keep perspective on what are the most important stories and what's being driven by a network that has a perspective. Being able to make that point has been important. Meantime, White House Press Secretary Robert Gibbs said off camera this morning, quote, "We render opinion based on some of their coverage and the fairness of their coverage." When asked what he thought the difference was between Fox and news networks, his answer, "You and I should watch sometime around 9 or 5 this afternoon." As for how Fox opinion bleeds into its so-called news, you don't have to take the White House's word for it. A non-exhaustive list from the Media Matters website details dozens of instances, including October 1st, America's Newsroom co-host Bill Hemmer advanced a smear that the Department of Education's Safe Schools advisor knew of statutory rape but never reported it. May 6th, America's Newsroom pushed the falsehood that Democrats tried to protect pedophiles by voting in favor of a local law enforcement hate crimes prevention act. April 23rd, Mr. Hemmer claims to keep track of the stimulus money, but in fact was using research lifted almost verbatim from the website of House Republican Whip Eric Cantor. April 15th, America's Newsroom promoted Tea Party organizing on air and online, frequently posting specific information and directing viewers to its website with a list of protest sites. The other examples offered by Media Matters are from Fox's Happening Now, Live Desk, Special Report, and the broadcast network's imitation of an actual Sunday news show like Meet the Press, which it calls Fox News Sunday.